Hi, I haven't made a video in a long time. So this is about Christianity, Zionism, Charlie Kirk's assassination. And so, when discussing things where facts and truth is covered up, I wrote some notes here, you could rely on motive, patterns of behavior, following the money, and explanatory power. And there are a few other things you could probably ask AI about when facts are completely covered up. How do you get to the truth of things? I actually figured out these things before asking AI, and it seems like it's a missing part of Carl Sagan's Demon Haunted World book. Like, what do you do, Mr. Sagan, when everything, is covered up? How do you get to the truth then? That's, Charlie Kirk was assassinated not long ago. And the things leading up to that are very telling. How he's had a meeting with some rich billionaire, which is very telling. And Zionism perverts a lot of things. They pervert, twist, and distort. They're narcissists, but you could also call them demons, would be accurate too, because all that, religious stuff is true, to an extent from, some of the religious books being edited by Zionists. He, first of all, didn't want the First Amendment attacked, nor did he want the Second Amendment attacked. So when I highly suspect Zionists, that group of people, assassinated Charlie Kirk. So then they twist, pervert, and distort his message, and they get people on social media. They rile people up. They're kind of like a hive mind, and they start, buzzing and casting literal magic spells and encouraging people to say horrible things. And the dude said a lot of stupid shit. The dude was programmed by Zionists, groomed by Zionists since he was a child into his adulthood. And he started to deprogram, is the thing that I recognize, at least. So they attacked the First Amendment, what they've been doing with social media lately, because they got the First Amendment protection in America, the first, amendment in the Constitution. So they have these private tech bros make all their social media platforms, and they're like, oh, well, hate speech and everything and blah, blah, blah. And they encourage people, being all demonic like they are, to get people fired over, what they said and everything. And that's very demonic. And, if you were encouraged to report someone for saying something, what you felt is foul or hate speech to get them to lose their job, then that's very demonic. And you have either been willingly doing the biddings of the demons or, got tricked into it, which does happen. They also love to, Charlie Kirk, he said a lot of stupid shit, but there was some shit that he was right on. And he was right on the First Amendment, and he was right on the Second Amendment. And they could have killed him in a lot of different ways. They have so many ways, and the authorities involved in it, and all sorts of people, like the coroners and whatnot. They have moved their pieces into position over the past centuries. But you could say decades too, and you could also say thousands of years. So they move people into positions of power like that, so they could, get away with all sorts of stuff. And so they could have given him a heart attack or a stroke, or Men in Black zapped him and, just killed him instantly. And instead of a flash, it just like kills you. And they chose the gun thing too, so they could, use that to further attack and erode your constitutionally protected rights. They do this also because the MK Ultra programs and programs related to that and mind control are a Zionist program that's mainly used in America. America is like the testing grounds. And so they get their little programmed MK Ultras, and they encourage them in indirect ways, aside from direct energy weapons being blasted at them, to be a mass shooter. And then they blame the Second Amendment, and this is how they erode, and how demons overall operate. So they're doing those two things out of respect for Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk, is like, look, I guess it's hate speech or foul speech or stupid speech, but, it's protected speech, and I agree with him on that. And he was starting to question. He's like, well, was there a stand down order? Was there a stand down order? And like, it took me 45 minutes to travel from one end of Israel to the other. So for 6 hours, there wasn't any response. And it's like, yeah, because they like straight up, planned it that way, because that's how they operate. They create a monster and then, or encourage a group or whatever, to do something. And then, obviously Palestinians are being abused for decades, and they, nudge them along with a little bit of funding, and then the Palestinians fight back, and then they use that to, commit genocide. And it's also interesting that Zionists, which famously use Jews to hide behind, tricked Christians into getting Jesus killed, right, into murdering Jesus. Not themselves, but they got others to do it, right? And then they further trick Christians and Catholics and everything in between, and every denomination in between, into wearing the cross as a symbol for respect. Respect, everybody. And that's all very demonically influenced. And that's how they do their little manipulations. So, Charlie Kirk was being groomed, like many of us have been, since childhood into adulthood. Yes, that is something I wrote down here. So he was a Zionist programmed asset. And they were particularly concerned about Charlie's lost flock, which is his audience, because they're getting programmed as well through Charlie. So he was a very important asset, and that's why he was offered $150 million, supposedly, to attack, interestingly, Tucker Carlson. Because Tucker Carlson, is like, a good Christian, I would say. And I agree with him on a lot of stuff, and I'm glad that he was able to deprogram himself. So the Zionists understand this deprogramming. Their programming usually only lasts into, someone's 30s, maybe 40s, and then it starts to wane. And yeah, so they're really, concerned about his audience being deprogrammed as well. By Zionist nonsense. This gaslighting Judeo-Christian nonsense. There's no such thing as Judeo-Christian. It's a gaslight by demons to trick Christians into attacking their own, religion or spirituality, if you want to put it that way. So when he was offered this $150 million, he was asked something soul-crushing, because he himself was turning into a Tucker Carlson. So what did they ask? They asked, well, why don't you attack Tucker Carlson? Which is also very telling, all right? That's on their agenda. Attacking Tucker Carlson is definitely on their agenda. And people like Jimmy Dore and Joe Rogan and Candace Owens and all the other ones, from Do Dissidents to Sabby Sabs and all of them. But those other ones aren't as big as the bigger fish that they're trying to manipulate and program. So, of course, so they see Charlie Kirk was turning into a Tucker Carlson. So being the little shit demons that Zionists are, they fucking ask him something soul crushing, and they're like, all right, well, you could have $150 million, but you need to attack someone that you're turning into, which is Tucker Carlson. And obviously he couldn't do that, so he was like, nah. And I think it was really stupid of them to, attack him in the way, that they did. Because they, as I said earlier, they could have, like, zapped him, made it look like a natural death, and get their fucking people to cover it up as, some suicide or natural death or something. But they chose the gun instead, which is very eye-opening to, Charlie Kirk's audience. And so, yeah, they killed him, and in the way that they did was not needed. But they did it, for an intimidation, towards Congress and all the other, leaders of your country that are all bought off, corrupt, and acting essentially like traitors to your nation, species, and planet, or plane of existence. Whatever people believe in there. So yeah, and I think this is just this is very telling stuff that the Zionists, famously hiding behind Jews, did to Jesus. Exactly what they're doing to Charlie Kirk. And Charlie Kirk was very, he was like, look, I take all the Zionist programming, but the First Amendment is, my hard line, and the Second Amendment is another hard line of mine. And they're totally shitting on that. They're totally shitting on it, but they're masking it in niceness. They're like, oh, well, how dare you do this hate speech? And they're trying to rile everyone up and do their little buzzing hive mind thing that they do, and essentially cast magic spells on the population and get them, oh my God, that person said something very hateful about Charlie Kirk. I should call their employer right now and complain. And that's all demonic. Just like, with Jesus, they got a bunch of his followers many years later probably to, wear the device of his torment and torture as a symbol of respect. That's such bullshit, but people are like, they believe it. I always preferred the triangle for a, Christianity, the Trinity, right? But anyway, what do I know? So yeah, that's about it. As a little bonus here, at the end of the video, on Cern, they're like, people are like concerned about Cern and people summoning demons supposedly, and that all is could very well be true. But the thing about demons is they like betray one another, and we've seen a lot of horror movies where some bad dude summons in some demon or something, and then that bad dude gets, fucked. And off the top of my head, I know it's like some Hellraiser movies were like that, but also Fallout season 1 with the ghoul. And there was 3 guys that, dug up the ghoul and everything, and they're like, hey, we want you to work for us. And then the ghoul killed them all and just did whatever the fuck he wanted to do. And that's so, like, I want people to kind of relax about the Cern stuff. Sure, maybe glitch in our reality here and there, but for the most part, they will be the ones regretting it when they break their buddies out of hell, because it gives the demons a chance of redemption too. So I want people to relax on that Cern stuff as well. But it's been nice talking about the Charlie Kirk stuff, Christianity and Zionism, and how they just operate, and they are literal demons from your religious books, but everyone's so gaslit that, they don't really believe in that stuff, and yada yada. And I guess another little bonus here is they want people going to Israel. They offered Charlie Kirk, they're like, well, why don't you come to Israel? Because they literally possess people in Israel. And they could do it like, they could. When I was younger, I believe this happened to me. I was like 5 or 6 years old, and people like Roofie possessed me. It was really weird. I would see the jinn for a long time in my life, and they would wreak havoc on my life. I'm glad that possession has now, passed and expired. But they do. That's why they want people there They want people there so they could literally possess them. And that's why they, dismiss it and gaslight, possession as something that is like real, because they actually do it on a regular fucking basis. So when they want our politicians in America going over to Israel, they are being possessed either knowingly or unknowingly. And so there are weird magical ways of doing that they cover up and hide from the general public. It's just crazy nonsense, blah, blah, blah. But it's real. And you can see these demons in Israel have yet again, the Zionist famously hiding behind the Jew has tricked a bunch of Catholics and Christians into blowing up Jesus's descendants and genociding them, funding it, supplying it, supporting it. That is the most anti-Christian Catholic shit that I could think of. Although the top, of that chain there of the churches, the Pope and whoever, all the bishops and cardinals, all those fucks, they are demons as well. And that's why they're not doing anything. They jerk you off with, oh, well, maybe you should knock it off over there. Just like a school teacher that actually is okay with the school bully, and they're like, hey, Billy, knock it off. Stop doing that stuff. And they don't, stop doing stuff to Timmy over there. And they don't really, take it seriously, or, they just say something to make it look like they fucking care. But these patterns of behaviors do add up, and I do make great points. So, and they are eyeing Tucker Carlson. So I've been sending some angels, I think, his way. When my guardian angel has some spare time, pop on over there and make sure that Charlie and the Freedom Flotilla and some others are okay. So I hope you guys could put those thoughts out there too, if you're spiritual or religious, because they could, use your spiritual protection. I think they're okay on money, those fat cats like Jimmy Dore and Joe Rogan, and I'm just spacing on the one that I just mentioned, Tucker Carlson. I think they are all, and Candace Owens, like they got financial protection, but they need a little more spiritual protection. So, just put good vibes and thoughts out there, and like that, like I do, and you guys have a blessed day, and everybody, Wang Chung tonight. All right, I heard this recently somewhere, so all right, bye-bye.